Hi guys, we're here live in our studio. My name is Alex and I'm here with Jason Merkel, and today we're going to talk about new exciting new E-flite product, the F-15 Eagle. Before we start, I want to tell everybody that I have my laptop here, so we've monitored all the questions.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any questions, just shoot it up in the feed and I'll try to answer as best as we can.
Yeah, so we're filming this live right now, and we've got it posted on Facebook in particular, and then later on we're going to post this video on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube and it's not live, then that's the reason he's got the computers, because we were doing this live originally and wanted to see those comments come through.
Exactly.
And that said, we've compiled pretty much all the comments we've seen the last 24 hours or so since we announced this product, and so I think we're going to answer a lot of the questions people have. But again, if you have any questions, jump on the feed, respond there. Hopefully Alex will be able to see it, and then we'll be able to answer that question for you.
Awesome. So let's first start with, so I saw a lot of questions about our relationship with some of the manufacturers out there. So let's kind of clarify that for the guys out there.
Yeah, so similar to the Viper and the F-16 70mm EDFs that we came out with recently, we announced them and a lot of guys are like, oh, you just stole this from somebody else or you copied this other company. No, that's not the case at all. And we're not saying we're not taking credit for those designs. Just like those airplanes, we admitted, those are from a very good partner of ours that we've worked very closely with for a very long time. And when we come across products that are impressive in many ways, whether it's the fit, finish, the quality of the flight performance, they fit in our lineup well, or we can put our name on them and actually back them with our service and support because we believe in them, we will take those products and put them into the E-flite lineup. And so that's the case here. We wanted to have a line of EDF jets as quickly as possible. And I don't think a lot of guys will believe this when I say it, but it's true. It takes almost 2 years to come up with an airplane and get it onto the market. And so if we had not taken some of these airplanes from this good partner of ours and put our name on it, put some of our spin on some of them, different trim schemes, different electronics inside, different technology with AS3X and Safe Select, then we wouldn't have had EDFs yet. And so we wanted to get EDFs on the market sooner than later. That said, admittedly, we are working on other brand new designs from the ground up, stuff that we came up with, that we decided on, and actually the next one that we're going to release is one of those ground up designs. So I wanted to point that out. Not every jet we're going to have is just a jet we've taken from this good partner of ours and put our name onto it. But we're admitting that we've done that. But again, the reason for that was because the products were fantastic. We could put our name on it. We were impressed by them. And trust me, we are pretty picky about things. We're not impressed by a lot of things, but these are really good products. And again, we put our own trim scheme on them. Now, looks are subjective, so some people may not like the look of our trim scheme versus the other, but so far, most people have admitted when they see our version, they prefer the trim scheme that we've chosen. But again, that's subjective. But that said, one thing that I will want to point out is that we've kept the prices the same, basically, on the plug-and-play versions to their plug-and-play version. The price is the same. Some people said, oh yeah, it's you put E-flite on it and you doubled the price. Nope, that's not what happened. We took the, for example, this is available from our partner for $149.99 right now. We're selling the plug-and-play for $159.99. So it's $10 more because the paint is more difficult and because we're putting our E-flite name on it, we're backing it. It's available in thousands of local hobby shops worldwide and backed by our service and support. And so I don't think anybody's going to complain about a $10 difference. But better yet, for $30 more than that one or $20 more than our plug-and-play, we've got the Bind and Fly Basic version, which has AS3X and Safe Select. That is a great value add for just a little bit of money. So again, we have taken these airplanes and we've partnered with our good partner to bring them to market under the E-flite name. We're not taking credit for them. We're not copying them. We're not stealing from them. None of that's happening. They're just a good partner of ours. They're a good supplier of ours. Everybody knows we've worked with them for many years. We do a lot of our ground up designs with them. We work with a lot of factories though, admittedly, and we we'll go to a factory depending on what their strengths are, what their skill sets are. This particular factory does a phenomenal job with EDF jets, and we're going to continue working with them on not only maybe potentially bringing some of their other ones to market under E-flite, but also bringing up some new ones under our brand name from our ground up design as well.
Awesome. So let's go back to what happened in the last few months. So we have, for quite a while, we had the UMX A10.
Yeah.
And we have the MiG-15.
Yep.
And then we came out with the 70mm, the Viper and F-16.
Exactly.
So now we have, what size is this? Where does it fit in the lineup?
So the Ultra Micros have 28mm fans. The UMX MiG-15, the UMX A10 has two 28mm fans. Those are very small airplanes. And then we've got what I consider kind of like a mid-size airplane, which are the 70mm jets. So again, the Viper jet and the F-16 and 70mm. Those airplanes fly on a 6S, roughly 3,000 to 4,000 battery. They are very, very fast, over 100 miles per hour. They have retractable landing gear. The Viper has flaps. They're extremely high performance. You have to fly them at a flying field. You're not going to grab those and go fly them at a soccer field. So we wanted to come up with something that was in between the UMX and the 70 millimeter, and that's this. This is 64 millimeter class, and so that's a class of ducted fan that's existed for a while. What's nice about 64 millimeter class airplanes is the size. You can see here that it's a really nice sized airplane. It's not too big. It's going to be very easy to transport in one piece. So it's not very long, not very large wingspan. It's easy to fit in your car, your trunk, your back seat, even your front seat, no problem. And so I think this airplane is a perfect size, that 64 millimeter class, for easy transport and storage. And so the other benefit there is that you can fly this now in a smaller space like a soccer field. Now that depends on your skill level. I'm not going to recommend this as a park flyer for most people. Some people will be able to fly it in smaller spaces and they can fly a typical 70 millimeter or larger ducted fan. And and that goes into my next point that I want to make, is that we brought this out at a lower price without retracts in a smaller size intentionally. We could have made a 70 millimeter F-15 with retracts and it would have been $350.
So it's kind of the value thing, right? You have, we left the reach, and that's one of the questions that came out yesterday. Yes. People were complaining about the retracts and the rudders.
Yeah.
But that adds complexity, it adds the price, so.
So the idea is that we've got the ultra micro 28 millimeter jets. They're 4-channel. They don't have flaps. They don't have retractable landing gear. It's funny because nobody complained about that. It would have been nice to have it in those, but you can't. It's just not, unfortunately, it's not feasible at those sizes and weights to have those components at the moment. And so moving up to the 70 millimeter, you've got a gap in between. Right. And so we're filling that gap with this at sub $200. Had we put retracts in this, it would have been probably $50 more minimum. I think so. It would have been heavier. Then it would have been more expensive and more complex.
And the flight performance
it would have affected the flight performance. With the same power system, we would have gotten less power, less speed, less thrust, or less thrust to weight ratio, and we would have had less flight time. Awesome. And so we decided to have simple airplanes like this with 64 millimeter that have the option for fixed landing gear or no landing gear. So you can use the landing gear. It's got a steerable nose wheel. You can taxi around on a hard surface like a regular runway, or maybe some dry lake bed or things like that. Or if you're going to fly primarily over grass, you can remove the landing gear, hand launch it, and then belly land it on grass or other soft surfaces as well.
Which, by the way, we have some of those hand launches that Ali did in videos.
Yeah, so the airplane has a lot of power, which is good. That makes the hand launch easy, but with Safe Select turned on with the Binify Basic version, you basically can do it hands off. Right. So what you see there in the video, that is an actual launch, 2 actual launches. Ali's done some other ones. He's actually posted those separately just for fun, like over the back of his head and some other things, so you guys can look out for that. And the reason we showed those is because we want you to know that with the addition of AS3X and then Safe Select in particular in the Binify Basic version, it's made the airplane even easier to fly, easier to launch, easier to fly.
So that is my next question. So for a guy that fly warbirds, 5-channel, 6-channel warbirds, could this be their first jet?
Yeah, so we are not necessarily saying this is the best first jet that's out there. We feel very strongly that the Viper jet in particular, because it handles a little bit more like a warbird or a heavily loaded sport airplane, is a better sport jet for more people. That said, because of the simplicity of this model, because of its price point, sub $200, because it just runs on a 4S2200 battery, which is a more common battery that most people have, I think this could definitely be a lot of people's good first jet. Right. And that said, it is an F-15, and because it's an F-15 platform, it does handle a little differently than your traditional warbird or sport model. And so that's the one thing I say is why we wouldn't necessarily say this is the best first jet ever. Right. I think it could be a first jet. It's not a beginner airplane. We're not saying it's a beginner airplane. Even though it has Safe Select in it, which makes it much easier to fly when you turn that on in the Binify Basic version, it's still not a trainer. This is not a good first airplane. This is not a good second airplane. It is potentially a good first jet, but it may not be the best first jet ever. But again, I think if a person's never flown an EDF before, but they have a lot of experience flying warbirds in particular, they're going to be successful flying this, especially the Binify Basic version with AS3X and then Safe Select. So
let's talk about Safe Select here for a second. What does that do for the customer? What does
Safe Select, you can bind with or without it. So you buy the Binify Basic version, it comes with the Spectrum AR636 receiver. In that receiver, we have AS3X software. AS3X is 3-axis gyros that smooth the airplane out. So if it's really windy and blustery, instead of the airplane bouncing around and you having to fight that, the AS3X smooths that out for you. It makes it feel like you're flying a bigger, heavier airplane, and it makes your workload a lot less. AS3X does not get in your way. It doesn't keep you from doing maneuvers. You can roll upside down, all the things. When you move the stick, you're in control. When you let go of the stick, it just keeps the thing smooth for you. Safe Select, on the other hand, is a different level. Now, when you bind the airplane, if you bind it normally, if you leave your bind plug in, and turn the receiver on, then bind to the transmitter with the bind plug in the receiver, AS3X is active, that's it. If, however, you plug in the bind plug, turn on the receiver, and then take the bind plug out, then bind your transmitter, now you have Safe Select active. You can assign Safe Select to an open switch on your transmitter. It's usually, say channel 5. You assign that to whatever switch you prefer. Some people put it on the back right, some people put it on the back left. It's kind of personal preference. You can assign that switch so you can turn Safe Select on and off. The nice thing about Safe is that, especially for a hand launch, when you turn it on, it keeps the wings level.
Okay.
When you give it throttle, it gives you a little bit of up elevator, so it'll climb. And so the benefit of Safe Select is it makes hand launches easier. Even if you're an extremely skilled pilot, like Ali is an amazing pilot. But he's like, why would I not launch with Safe Select on?
Definitely.
It makes no sense for me to not do that.
Right.
And so I think a lot of people misinterpret Safe Select as something that just beginners need. That's not true. It's helpful for beginners, but it's extremely helpful for hand launching, easier landings, especially in crosswind conditions. Let's say you fly through the sun, lose orientation. You can flip Safe Select on, the airplane's going to go back to level for you. So with Safe Select on, you have bank angle limits, so the airplane can't get upside down and crash. You have pitch angle limits. And then when you let go of the stick, it always goes back to level.
Okay.
So the nice thing about that is if you're new to a jet, if you lose orientation, flip Safe Select on, gives you a chance to gather yourself. It's going to stay level. You can move the stick all the way to the left. It'll make a nice left-hand turn, easy for you. But again, it does have limitations, and that's why you want it on a switch so you can turn it on and off. So if you're an experienced pilot, you're not going to want it on all the time. No problem. But I think it's a good feature to have. It's good for
Especially
the lower
the
time
hand launches,
pilot.
yeah.
Yes, and even for an experienced pilot, the hand launches are great.
What about battery recommendations? Are we looking 4S 18s, 22s?
So it's built pretty much around a 4-cell 2200. That was the main battery. I think you could fly it on a 4-cell 1800, a little less flight time. I think the CG would be okay. It could also fly on 3S, but we don't officially recommend it. It will work. We've done it. It's not as good a performance as you see in the video, of course. It doesn't have the speed. It doesn't have the thrust. It will fly. So a 3S 22 and a 4S 1800 are about the same weight, are very similar size and weight. So again, that would probably work, but it's really designed around that 4S 2200. That is the perfect battery. Now, not all 4S 2200s are going to fit. The ones that we recommend are the smaller size and shape, a little bit more compact than some of the other, especially less expensive ones that are out there.
Right.
So you got to double check the dimensions to make sure your 4S 2200 is going to fit. But again, the ones that we recommend fit in there. It's a nice snug fit, and they give you good flight time and very good performance.
Now, one of those batteries is the Spectrum Smart battery, and I just want to mention that the plug, the connector is fits the IC3.
Exactly.
The IC3.
So in the airplane out of the box, it comes with the E-flite EC3 connector. So all batteries, EC3 connectors, like our E-flite batteries, plug right in. However, the Spectrum Smart batteries have the IC3 connector, which is the new intelligent version connector. That connector has an extra pin in it that allows it to work with smart chargers and smart ESCs to give you telemetry data. But that said, you don't have to use it with a smart ESC. This is not a smart ESC, and the IC3 connector plugs right into the EC3, no problem. By the way, a little plug on those batteries. The Spectrum Smart batteries are phenomenal because they self-discharge themselves. So if you charge up all your batteries, go to the field, and you don't fly them all, after you can set this to 24 hours, 48 hours, so on and so forth, they will self-discharge, so you don't have to worry about doing that, which I'm telling you, that is one of the best time savers I've had in many years. It saves me a lot of time and effort, yeah.
So I'm looking at the some of the questions, guys, here, and I see a question from Joe asking on the fan unit, how many blades? Question.
Yes, so this one has 11 blades, and I saw somebody made a comment like, wow, 11 blades, why didn't you put 12 blades?
Right.
So the 70 millimeter ones have 12 blades, and I can tell you that that this partner of ours put a lot of time and effort in with some aeronautical engineers to design the propulsion systems, and so the blade count, the number of blades doesn't really that doesn't matter that much. 11 versus 12. They probably could have made a 12-blade fan work, but in this case, they didn't need to. And so the nice thing is that when you go past, say, 6 to 8 blades, the sound of the fan is very different. So
better, yeah.
5-10 years ago, when we were flying ducted fans with 3-blade, 4-blade, 5-blade, and 6-blade fans, they were very loud. It sounded like a blow dryer. It was not very appealing. It wasn't fun for people at the field to listen to your airplane ripping around the sky. The sound that we get now from these 11 and 12-blade fan units is amazing. Sounds almost like a real turbine. We intentionally, in the video, turn the music down so you guys can hear that fan in action. It sounds more like a turbine jet engine than like a blow dryer.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm looking at more questions here. Joe wants to see the bottom of the airplane if we can.
Yeah, so the bottom of the airplane is very similar. This particular one we did not assemble all the way. So we've got this one just kind of slid together here. The wings do bolt on. We did not bolt these on in this particular case. Right. You can see the trim scheme is similar top to bottom. And I know some guys are a little worried about the maintaining orientation, but you've got these nice big vertical fins, 2 of them on top, and so it is easy to tell top from bottom. I've also seen some other guys comment that the trim scheme is going to be hard to see in the air, and I got to tell you guys, that's just not true. It does have this kind of almost sky camo look to it, right. But there's a lot of white and a lot of gray on it. You can still see it. It contrasts with the blue, even in a blue sky. To be honest, our partner sells us in a gray version. It's hard to see. It's harder to see an all gray one than it is to see this camo version. So, real quick on the trim scheme, I don't know if a lot of guys know this. So this is what they call an aggressor squadron splinter trim scheme. And so I don't think a lot of people know what the aggressor squadrons are. So the U.S. Air Force actually has squadrons that are dedicated to acting like enemy aircraft. And so years ago, we used some of our own aircraft painted like, for example, Russian aircraft, and we would simulate dogfighting with them. Right. And then after a while, we actually went and bought Russian aircraft and used them for the training. Now, it's difficult to procure the Russian aircraft. It's then difficult to maintain them. So now our Air Force is using our aircraft, painted in this case like a Russian aircraft, and then they're using them in air-to-air combat training, red flag exercises in Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas in particular. And so that's where this trim scheme comes from. We wanted to do it because it's a little bit different, and we also wanted to tell that story about the aggressor squadron. That's a really neat thing that our military does to kind of keep them one up on the competition. And you know, the interesting thing is that the pilots that fly in the aggressor squadron, they actually will wear uniforms that have Russian markings, for example. Their locker room is decorated that way. They are trained to think and fly the maneuvers the way that the other guys do. And then their aircraft look a little bit more visually like it, in part because of the trim scheme.
Can we show the battery hatch?
Yeah, so right here on top, we've got a magnetic hatch, which is basically this cockpit section here. There's a tab to pull up on, and that's it. It's that easy to access it. The battery slides in right here, and there's your connector. It's very easy to get in there. 4S 2200 pretty much slides in, almost a snug fit, slides right out. Very, very easy to install and remove. So you got the magnetic hatch there. We do also have a magnetic nose cone.
Very convenient.
So a couple of benefits to that is, number one, if you are transporting it, it's a little too long for you. You can pull that off. You don't have to have this pointy thing sticking out there banging into stuff. So it's easy to take it off. And if you crash and you damage the nose cone, you can easily replace it with a new one. Just slap a new one on there. And for storage, like around the office, a lot of times they'll take the nose cone off and just stick the airplane on the nose here, because then it's not doing any damage to either the floor, whatever they've set it on, or the nose cone itself. By the way, the nose cone does have a hard plastic cap on it. It's not just foam all the way through, so that's actually a really nice feature as well.
Awesome. So what about radio accommodations? You know, looking at 6-channel or?
So it depends on if you fly it with or without the landing gear. So right now, out of the box, for the landing gear equipped version, it's 4 channels for the basic functions. So you have a throttle, of course. You have nose gear steering, so the nose gear does actually steer. There's a servo in there for that. Exactly. Yeah. There are no rudders. And again, I know some guys complained about that, but the reason there's no rudders was to save weight, complication, and cost in this scale of model. And also because when you fly it without the landing gear, you're less likely to need, that as well. And so the rudders wouldn't make a huge difference in the flight performance. I know some guys are going to argue that, but the truth is this thing is a lot of fun just the way it is. You then have your elevator control and your aileron control. So again, with landing gear, you need a 4-channel transmitter with the plug-and-play version. If you have the buy-and-fly basic version and you want to switch to turn safe select on and off, you need a 5-channel transmitter. In theory, without the landing gear, you only need a 3-channel transmitter for the plug-and-play version, or a 4-channel for the buy-and-fly. But most people, I would say 5-channel or more transmitter minimum is what you're going to want, especially if you have the buy-and-fly basic version.
So out of the box, how it comes? Any type, any glue, anything that we...
So it is very, very easy to put together. Yeah. So this is the updated version 2 airframe, and so the wings bolt on, they slide on, there's a joiner rod here, they have 2 bolts that go in, very easy. I don't suspect most people will take the wings on and off for transport. It's so small, you really don't need to. The stabs do glue on, that's very easy to do. It's EPO foam, so you don't have to use foam safe or odorless CA. You can use regular CA, you can use epoxy, there's other different glues out there that some guys prefer, and so it's very easy to put together. It's roughly an hour to put it together. There's no major difficult things to do in the assembly. One thing I'll point out is that the drop tanks and missiles are you glue the missiles to the drop tanks, and then those slide on and off. You'll see that in our product video. It's easy to slide them off if you don't want them on there. I love the way it looks with them on there, but that said, they do affect flight performance a little more drag, a little more weight, so a little less speed, a little less vertical performance when you have those installed. You can see on the one here, without the landing gear, we don't have the missiles and the drop tanks on it, and it's a little faster, a little bit better vertical performance. So, that said, even with the landing gear on it, the performance is phenomenal. Even with the drop tanks on there and the missiles on there, it has more speed than I think most people would expect. It has a really good vertical performance. You'll see in the video the takeoff is just kind of a nice normal takeoff, and then at the end he pulls vertical and goes up quite a ways. It has very good, it doesn't have unlimited vertical, but it has very, very good vertical performance.
So speaking of performance, Kenneth want to see a fly where we have the video, the launch video that went out, it's out on YouTube.
Yeah, check out the video. It's on our YouTube channel, Horizon Hobby Products. You can see it there firsthand. You can also go to our website, www.horizonhobby.com, and you can search for F-15 or E-flite F-15, and you will be able to find the product pages, and you can click there, and the video's on there as well. But a lot of guys love the video. A lot of thumbs up on the video. Ali did a great job flying, as he always does, of course. And I think the hand launches are the things that get people. And so there's a regular takeoff, and then all of a sudden we switch to the hand launch, and there's Ali just sitting with his feet up on a table and just throws the airplane in the air. That's how much power it has, and also how awesome Safe Select is in the Bind and Fly Basic version.
Awesome. So let's talk about price. We haven't mentioned the price yet.
Yes, a little bit. We talked about it earlier. So the plug and play version, they're either way. You can have plug and play version with or without landing gear. They both come with the landing gear. They both come with the drop tanks and the missiles. The difference is the plug and play version has the power system, so it has the motor, the fan, the ESC, the servos all installed, but no receiver. The plug and play version is $159.99, so $160 US. And then the Bind and Fly Basic version is only $20 more. And so that's the same thing. You've got the motor and the fan already factory installed, balanced and installed. The ESC's in there, the servos are in there. There's a total of 5 servos in both versions. And then you also get the Spectrum AR636 receiver with AS3X and Safe Select, and that's only $20 more. So $179.99, $180 US. You can have a very high performance scale jet that flies awesome, looks awesome, and with Safe Select Active in particular, it's probably the easiest to fly F-15 there's ever been. It's amazing. Yeah.
So I think my last question that I have here is, when it's going to be available?
So right now, if you guys are seeing this video, it's Friday, February 1st, and the time of this video, we have a very small quantity left to pre-order in our first shipment. First shipment arrives next week, and so if you pre-order today at your favorite local hobby shop, horizonhobby.com, towerhobbies.com, you will hopefully be able to get one by next week. If not, the second shipment's not coming in for about another month. So it could be end of March or so, middle to end of March before the next shipment's available. So we strongly recommend pre-ordering today. If you want to pre-order through your local hobby shop, a lot of hobby shops have yet to order. Make sure you get them to place their pre-order today and get your name on one, so they will have one for you as soon as possible.
So speaking of that, David, I just saw a question here. He's asking, when can we order, but you can pre-order now. So.
You can pre-order now. So again, you can go to your favorite local hobby shop, pre-order through them, make sure they've placed their order with us. That part's very important. A lot of dealers will wait a couple days to a couple weeks to order a new release, and they might miss out on the first shipment for you. So make sure you push your favorite local hobby shop to do that, or again, go to horizonhobby.com. You can pre-order it there. You don't have to prepay. You can just put your order in. You won't be charged until it ships. I think we got another question.
We have a question.
Is there something people can practice on real flight that's similar to this?
So the question is there something on real flight that you can practice on? I believe there is F-15 on real flight. That is more of a turbine model in a larger scale, but it does have some similar handling characteristics. So my suggestion would be to fly that or some of the other scale jets. F-16 is a different animal, so that probably isn't the best representative. But I would say if you're comfortable flying a heavy warbird, a heavily loaded warbird, that this will handle somewhat similar to that. A little bit higher landing speed than obviously like a trainer or a regular sport airplane, and a little bit more kind of solid, rock solid, locked in feeling.
Well, I don't see any other questions. However, I want to plug in promotion that started today.
Oh yeah,
Mega Micro. So for you guys that we started Mega Micro sale today, every UMX pretty much in the lineup is on sale. If it's $100 or less, it's $10 off. Or if it's 129 or 49 UMX, then it's $20 off.
Yes. So that includes the UMX A10 and the UMX MiG 15. So they're on sale basically for the month of February 2019 for $20 off. So it's a really good deal.
Also
really great deal.
one of the newer ones, the UMX Cirrus is on there.
Oh
too.
yeah, UMX Cirrus is on there, and then the ever popular UMX Timber.
You have to say that one.
Yeah, everybody loves that airplane. I think everybody should own 2 of those. That is an amazing airplane.
Definitely.
The MiG is a lot of fun, by the way. I flew it in some really high winds, and with AS3X, it is so locked in. It's amazing.
It's
The
great
MiG,
flying
it looks
airplane,
like it's a tiny airplane, but it feels like you're flying a giant scale airplane. It's pretty impressive.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I don't see any other questions, and unless you have anything else to add, we're pretty much.
No, I think we covered it all for you
All right,
guys. And be
awesome.
sure to check out the product pages for more information, the
definitely.
specifications and things. And again, don't forget, if you want one, pre-order today if you want to get one as soon as possible. And if not, it'll be March or April before we got more.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining, guys, and happy landings.
Thank you.